7:00. So, sweet. 7:00. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fourth meeting of this month. I welcome you guys to see a bunch of familiar faces, and a couple of new faces on the screen and in person. Just want to welcome you guys, and now I'll hand it over to our invocator, which will be Mr. Luke Obbs.
Thank you, fellow Toastmasters and guests. I'd like to give the invocation tonight with a quote from Henry David Thoreau, as a quote from his book Walden. If I may, I'd like to preface that quote with a quick anecdote that kind of adds some context with a personal story. During a previous hike of mine, we did about 50 miles in Appalachian Trail around the Roanoke region. And it took us about 3 days. And as you do with a section hike, you park two cars, one in at each end. So one at the beginning, one at the end. You hike together to the bottom car and you drive back up to where you started, and you can go your separate ways. And over the course of 3 days, hiking 50 miles, of course, there's a certain pace, the pace of walking. You know, a pace that you might say we've evolved for all these years as humans. That's what we walk at, that speed. And it really struck me driving from the end car back to where we started, taking only 15 minutes, covering all that ground that took us 3 days. But another thing that struck me was also the sights we had seen along the way and all that you missed in the car in just that quick 15-minute drive. So without further ado, the quote from Thoreau: "The swiftest traveler is he that goes afoot." Thank you very much. Mr. President.
Welcome. This is what, our third? I never count. Who was I talking to? I was talking to someone. I was talking to someone yesterday, I believe. I don't count. I don't know why. I just don't count. But I think it's our third time meeting here at ECPI in a very long time, and I, for one, thoroughly enjoy meeting in person. I do not miss it. Sorry. Sorry, everyone. I don't miss it. So I don't have any, hey, Zach, what's going on? I don't have any introduction, any announcements for today, except that we are going to have a good time. We have an icebreaker speech. And so we have 2 speeches today, and we have a fun time with table topics. Zach, we don't have a word master, listen up. So
Jake is no longer.
Oh, no, I'm
David.
Yeah, so we'll chat about that inside. We're gonna figure that out, and that's pretty much all I have. I don't have any announcements. So welcome to the guests. We have one guest. Yeah, we have one. We have a Andrew, and I actually want to introduce our guest first. Niv, am I pronouncing your name right? Would you like to unmute yourself and kind of introduce?
Yeah. Hi. Hello, everyone. My name is Niv. So actually, my full name is Nivedita. I go with Niv. And I'm a civil engineer. So I moved to Virginia Beach like a month ago. And I wanted to get over the fear of public speaking, make new friends. And next time I want to be in person over there. Today I couldn't make it. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's about me. And hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you. Awesome. I was going to ask you that if you preferred Zoom or in person. So I guess you could. I'm glad that you still jumped on. So this is the beauty of hybrid. Is you can't make it, you can still jump on and join us. So that's awesome. And we're looking forward to seeing you sometime when, next time we meet in person, which will be next week. Because I don't.
Next. Mm-hmm.
Did you have anything else, Andrew? Besides.
For those who have not done so, please pay your dues.
So
That's all I got.
Around that shoot today and figure that out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I never refuse that. It's important to keep your paths live with Toastmasters and Your dues goes to Toastmasters International. The club only collects $5 for our treasury. And if anything comes out of that, we have a whole system of deciding how that works. So the dues goes to Toastmasters International. We don't, the club doesn't really make money off it. From anything besides the $5 per 6 months, so $10 a year. That goes into our club fund in case we need to, we want to do, like, if we need a new camera, we'll vote on it, or we need something for the club. So,
We're paying for our Zoom, which we just did.
or Zoom, right? So that's how that works. So just so everyone understands, all right? Thanks for bringing that up, Andrew. And other than that, let's introduce our Toastmaster of the evening. Toastmaster Luke. And just real quick, before I hand it over, sorry, Toastmaster Luke. One of our traditions is we don't leave the lectern until we actually turn it over. So you notice how I didn't leave until I kind of handed over to Luke. So that's how we do that. And we clap for everything.
Thank you, Toastmaster President David Marshall. And welcome, fellow Toastmasters and guests. My name is Luke Dobbs. I'll be the Toastmaster of the evening tonight. My job will be to, of course, host the evening and also keep the meeting moving along. So as I left the house this morning, I was struck by I noticed a change. And I was struck that the change was sudden to me. But really it wasn't so sudden. It was dark. All of a sudden it was dark. Now this, of course, didn't happen so suddenly. This seems gradually. But the seasons are changing, aren't they? Now I confess, fall doesn't come too suddenly for me because fall is by far my favorite season. With this season, as I was walking today, actually, I noticed, or I guess probably subconsciously, the leaves crunching under my feet. And it really just kind of jolted me to a bunch of memories of the past with fall, you know, things like crisp, sunny weather, of course, gearing up for the home football game, perhaps, maybe some tasty new seasonal brews on the shelves, and of course, my favorite, Halloween and Thanksgiving, kicking off the season of gluttony. So with that theme in mind, let me go over some of our engaging events tonight. Our first session will include 2 speakers, and excitingly, our headlining will be Priscilla Hernandez with her icebreaker, which is always an exciting time for us Toastmasters, as a new speaker embarks on their journey. Secondly, we'll have a speech given by President David Marshall. In our second session, we'll have a round of table topics, and that will be run by Toastmaster Sean Markle. And lastly, the evaluators will give their evaluations of the speeches and other events. And finally, of course, the adjournment. So to start things off, I'd like to introduce our general evaluator for evening, Toastmaster Andrew Bullock.
Good evening. How is everybody? I am your general evaluator, and it is my job to evaluate the meeting from beginning to end. Believe it or not, my role began at the conclusion of the last meeting when I reluctantly signed up for the role. And I will give my report at the end of the meeting. But it's not just me. It is it's not just me who is evaluating the meeting. I have helpers to help me along. Zach, have you secured me a new grammarian odd counter, or has our regular one arrived yet?
Sandeep Rani.
Sandeep Rani is our grammarian odd counter. Please tell us about your role.
Thanks, the evaluator. So it feels weird standing here, like first time here. So, okay, so as an counter, my role will be to keep account of the R's, you know what, so's, and all the filler words everyone is using. And then at the end of the meeting, I'll be providing a report. And as the grammarian, that's my next role. I'll be looking for any improper use of English language, and I'll be taking a note of it, and then I'll letting it know at the end of the session. So back to you, general evaluator.
Yeah, thank you, Sandeep. All right. Has our word master listen up arrived yet?
Nope, I'll do listen up.
All right. David Marshall will be stepping in for David Den as our word master and listen up. Please tell us about our word of the day.
All right, so word of the day. On the spot now. I think we always start tabletop. So huh. Well, let me talk about my listen up role now. Listen up. So listen up is when I will listen to the entire event and how everyone is speaking, and at the end, I get to ask everyone questions and see if everyone's paying attention. So I'll ask simple questions or questions that have to do with this event, and basically as a group, see who can answer the question. And look at that. Awesome, thank you. Parlay. All right, our word will be parlay. Parlay means to turn something into something of greater value. Just like Luke has parlayed my role into something greater because he gave me a word, and I did not have a word. So parlay means to turn something into something of greater value. And I will be listening to everyone speak to see if who's using this word throughout the evening. So thank you. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Marshall. I look forward to parlaying these Starbucks gift cards for some pumpkin spice latte. All right. Our next helper is Jake Bondi, who is our timer. Please tell us about your role.
So as timer, I will time table topics, speeches, and evaluations. I will also alert each speaker of their remaining time by using colored cards. Green at the beginning of speeches. So first of all, table topics are 1 to 2 minutes in length. Icebreakers, which we have one of today. The icebreaker was Priscilla. And other speeches, which I have David, right? Is 5 to 7 minutes. So at the beginning of your, whenever you reach your desired time, it's the green card. Midway through, it'll be yellow. And to wrap things up, it'll be red. So thank you, AJ.
Yeah, thank you, Jake. All righty. Our table topics master is going to be Sean Markle. Please tell us a little bit about your role as table topics master.
Hello again, everybody. I am the table topics master of this evening. So basically my role is asking you questions, impromptu questions. You get a minute or so, or you get a minute, respond back, and you just got to keep on talking to fill that minute. And once you get that minute, then you're all good.
Thank you, Sean. And Tammy, since you're our first evaluator, would you like to share a little bit about your role as an evaluator?
My job as an evaluator is to evaluate. So I will be looking at the content, well, not so much the content, but how Priscilla will give her speech. So that will include things like eye contact and how comfortable she is with the audience, and different little things that we look at. And for the icebreaker, it's pretty easy because all she needs to do is be herself and introduce herself. So it's a pretty easy one to do.
All righty. Well, thank you, Tammy. Well, all this and more will be given at the end of the evening when I give my general evaluators report. But until then, the show is on. Back to you, Luke.
General evaluator.
So now that we've had all the roles laid out and the meeting agenda laid out before us, let's kick it off.
Kind of lost you guys there.
Yeah. All right.
There we go. How are we? Can we hear? Good. So as promised, our headliner tonight will be an icebreaker. Priscilla Hernandez will be giving her icebreaker tonight in the Pathways Dynamic Leadership toward Level 1. Her speech is titled, "You're Still Here." Please welcome Priscilla to the stage to deliver her speech to her friend as her icebreaker. Priscilla.
Hello. I'm Priscilla. So I'm just gonna jump right into this. Trigger warning. My friend was talking about committing suicide, so I wrote this to him. I wanted to end my life and somehow make it look like an accident so that people didn't think I was weak. I never told people that, of course, right? Because when you talk about suicide, nobody's going to be like, hey, I want to kill myself. It's just not a topic that people come up to you and say. My nickname is Smiley because I used to smile a lot, but it was just so that people would leave me alone and not ask me if I was okay. And during that era, I would go to work, I'd come home, and it's a little nasty. I was a little dirty girl. Used to come home from working on helicopters, and I'd jump in bed without taking a shower sometimes. So I'd drive straight home, get in the car, get in bed, wake up, go to work, do it again. I used to love going to work. I worked on helicopters. It just got really hard at this time, and I started hating going to work. I started hating doing the things that I used to enjoy doing. And I had no energy. I made several suicide letters over the years. I made a suicide video this time last year. I hurt so bad that I would go to work and I'd be actively using a wrench or installing something on an aircraft, and there's just tears running down my face. And sometimes I just couldn't feel anything. They'd just be coming down my face. I'd have to kick all my coworkers out of the aircraft so they couldn't see me. I would try to do so many different things to distract myself so that I didn't feel this way. I started going to the gym, but whenever I would go to the gym, people probably thought I was weird because, you know, I'd be lifting weights and start crying. So I just felt uncomfortable being alive. And my biggest question back then was like, why the hell am I here? Like, what am I here for? I stopped eating. I couldn't sleep for anything. I lost a lot of weight. One day I went home and I had enough. I made a video for my brothers and my friends, apologizing, telling them that I'm sorry. And after I made the video, I thought about where I was going to do it, how I was going to do it, and like how I was going to do it to where nobody could see. I started thinking about how to pay off all my debts and how to do it in a fast manner so I could get it over with. And that night, I thought that I would be at more of a peace because I decided like, I'm out of here, you know? So whenever I try to go to bed, I still couldn't sleep. Like it was, my mind hurt so much. I just wanted to stop thinking. Like I just wanted my thoughts to stop. So I was desperate, and I opened up YouTube and I started looking at videos on things like how to forgive. And I came across a series of motivational sermons and videos. For example, a lot of times I listen to people like Michael Todd or Stephen Furtick. I listen to Kobe Bryant and Sadhguru. I just kept listening to these videos, and I fell asleep listening to them that night. And as soon as they stopped, I woke up because my mind kept going. So I bought YouTube Premium that night, and if you don't know, you have to buy YouTube Premium now to not get ads. It's really annoying. But I bought YouTube Premium. It's $10, but the best $10 I ever spent, because I played the motivational videos and I fell asleep. I woke up in the morning and I kept listening to them. I listened to them on my way to work. And whenever I got to work, I obviously couldn't listen to them. So it was tough throughout the workday, because I kept thinking. Whenever I would get back in my car, I listened to the videos again. I listened to them to work. I'd go home, I listened to them in the shower. I fell asleep to them. I cut the grass listening to them. I brushed my teeth listening to them. I cooked listening to them. I did everything listening to these videos, because that's the only time that I felt okay. And eventually, from minutes of listening to these videos, it turned into hours, and hours turned into days, days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months, and months turned into one day, like, I just started saying nicer things to myself in my head. And the nice things that I was saying sounded a lot like the videos that I was watching. And I didn't recognize that at this time I had already been listening to these videos for a year. I didn't listen to any music. And I started having thoughts of wanting to be alive, and they came more and more. I stopped being so angry, but I kept a little bit for passion purposes. Obviously, you gotta have some anger sometimes, get some feelings. And I started to understand that the people that have inflicted pain on me, they were hurt, and I was hurt too. So long story short, little hope can go a long way. And if you need some hope, I got a lot for you. So stay, because you're very strong and you're still here. And if I made it through, you can too. So that's it.
Wow. Thank you very much, Priscilla. I think there's no argument that most impactful speech and story really, I feel like this comes from so deep in the heart. Thank you for sharing your story of resilience with us. I do believe we will move on to our next speech, or is it timer? Please, timer, give us 1 minute to perform the evaluations. Thank you very much, Toastmaster Timer. Our next speech will be given by David Anthony Marshall, our president, at level MS3. He'll be pursuing the Pathways Visionary Communication Level 1. And this is part 2 of his evaluation and feedback project. Part 2 of the evaluation and feedback project is where the speaker will be giving their speech, perhaps for the second time, but most importantly, incorporating feedback from previous speech. David's speech title is, "You Can't Stay There, Get Out of Your Comfort Zone." Comfort zones can become our very own self-imposed, self-made prisons if we allow them to. This evening, David will discuss why it's important to get out of our own ways and move towards something bigger. This is his second speech, completing his evaluation and feedback portion of his level 1 visionary communications path. David? Thank you.
You can't stay there. You can't stay where you are. Many times our comfort zone become our personal self-imposed prisons. We get so comfortable where we're at that any type of movement or any type of change scares us, makes us freeze. That's when you're in your comfort zone. Now, this can be good in a way, or it can be bad in a way. Comfort zone. If you're driving in your car and you're comfortable staying in the lane, driving at the speed limit, then be comfortable, right? Well, if you're comfortable, if your comfort zone is driving 100 miles an hour swerving through traffic, that's not a good thing, right? So if we have a comfort zone where we're comfortable doing what we're doing, but we're so comfortable doing it that we can't move forward in a positive way, like we're comfortable staying in the same city when we get a good job interview or a job offer in another city that allows us to move up, but we're just so comfortable where we're at. That's not a good comfort zone. That's a self-imposed prison. Have you ever seen the picture of a horse tied to a plastic chair? And the horse is fully convinced that he can't move. Have you ever seen that? Or the picture of the cat stuck in a cage that has no bars? They're stuck in their comfort zone. That's not good. I want to tell you a story about a prisoner. And the story, this prisoner was captured behind enemy lines, and he was brought into the commander of the enemy force. And the commander gave the prisoner 2 choices. He said, "You're captured. You have 2 choices. You can either face a firing squad in the morning, or you can go through, choose that door right there." And the prisoner asked, "What's through that door?" And the commander said, gave the instant salute. Unknown horrors. No one knows. So the prisoner thought about it, and the next morning he chose the firing squad. And after the firing squad rang out, the secretary asked the commander, "What's through that door?" And the commander said, "Freedom." But no one ever chooses it because it's unknown. Right? He could have chosen that door and had his freedom. Anyone here watch that movie, 12 Years a Slave? Oh, boy.
I don't know what.
I was watching a documentary this weekend, and the documentary was talking about how President Lincoln, after he freed all the slaves, many of them were freed, but they had their freedom, but they had nowhere to go, no way to make money, so they left, but they didn't have anything to. So it was so scary. They didn't know what to do. Many of them couldn't read. Many of them couldn't write. They didn't know anything about the outside world. Now that's now that wasn't their fault. But many of us, we do that to ourselves, right? We don't know what's out there. And so instead of going out and looking and figuring it out and doing the best we can with what we have, we stay here because it's more comfortable. So I'll give you another story. This king was given for his birthday two baby eagles. And the baby eagles, he gave the baby eagles to a tender to raise them, to feed them, to train them. And after a couple years, the king went to visit his gifts to see, he wanted to see them soar, and he wanted to see them do what eagles do. And so he went, and the tender gave one command. And the one eagle, he got off the branch, and he went out, and he soared, and he flew around, he just enjoying himself. And the tender gave another command, and he came back and sat on the limb. He did what eagles are supposed to do. The other eagle, when he gave the command, he just came off the branch, flew around for a little bit, came right back. And the king was like, what's wrong? Like, why isn't he doing what eagles do? And again, this tender gave the instant salute. Right? So the king went and he got all the philosophers and magicians and all the smart people in his kingdom, and they could not figure out what was wrong with this eagle. Until one day, the tender came running into the king and he said, we figured it out. The eagle's soaring. He's doing what he's supposed to do. And the king ran out and he said, who was able to do this? It was a simple gardener. And all he did was cut the branch. He removed the comfort zone. So if we remove our comfort zones, we're able to soar and do what we're supposed to do what we were meant to do as human beings on this earth. One of my favorite movies is Winnie the Pooh. Has anyone seen? Okay, I've already asked two movies. Someone has got to see this movie. Okay? Someone in this room or online has got to. Christopher Robin. Have anyone seen Christopher Robin? Okay, thank you. Christopher Robin. And one of my favorite quotes in that movie, he says, I always get to where I'm going by walking away from where I've been. You always get away to you always get to where you're going by walking away from your comfort zone. That's how we get better. That's how we grow. That's how we become what we're meant to be. The richest place on the planet. Who knows what the richest place on the planet is? Richest place on the planet is the graveyard. Because there, so many people leave the earth never fulfilling their purpose. Many people die at the age of 25. They don't get buried to the age of 75 because they're stuck in their comfort zone. Walking around this planet doing nothing because they're too comfortable. Get out of our comfort zones. That's the only way that we can become better. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Dave. Well given, excellent, sir. I'd like to now call up our timer to give the timer report. I'm sorry, thank you very much. Let's first start with our timer by putting 1 minute on the clock for evaluations. Thank you, timer. And now I'd like to invite you to the front to give us the timer's report for our speeches.
Thank you, Toastmaster. For Priscilla's icebreaker, I had 6 minutes and 29 seconds. And for David's speech, I had 7 minutes and 38 seconds.
Thank you very much, Dave. Okay, let's all take a minute to vote for the best speaker. We have the virtual poll on the board, so there's our choices, and if you have a sheet of paper, go ahead and write it down.
Yeah.
All votes in? Andrew, are we waiting on any out there? Okay. Well, with that, let's go ahead and take a 10-minute break. So let's try to reconvene at 7:48. Good. Thank you.
Good question. No, that's the store restaurant.
Yeah.
This last one.
I would need to be there.
Oh, crazy, right? Yeah. There's a lot of them.
I think I'm gonna try to redo it because I didn't get to quite finish it. Like, I got to the point where it was getting good, like less depressing, and I was like, oh, shit. Next time I'll finish. Yeah, those videos helped me a lot. He was the second video that I stumbled upon, so I clicked on Stephen First video, and I didn't know it was a pastor's video.
Oh, right.
I clicked on it, and he was just like getting all jumpy with the choir,
Right,
like,
with the ripped
okay,
jeans.
that's Steve. And then I went to search his church, and somehow I looked at Transformation Church instead of Elevation. Because I missed the name, and then Michael Todd popped up, and I started listening.
Yeah, like a bunch of vacation days. No, it's like a.
Yeah, they're going on tour.
No.
Yeah.
Everything is through.
Like Jacksonville
Yeah,
and
it's like-
Houston.
Yeah, there's a lot of vacation days stay there. I think so. Yeah, I do have. Lots.
Went to the Jacksonville one, to the apartment, but they don't know. Ticket, visit, and. It starts October. Starts in October.
I actually was not going to come here.
That is the last
I
one,
think
yeah.
last night.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good actually. It's different to
Was the last one a decision?
Yeah, nice decision.
See.
Yeah, I just hope to come regularly in person. Zooms, like I've been like for a year, I've been on Zooms almost a year.
Zoom, but
It's good.
I like it. I was so nervous.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That's
but
why
it doesn't
I
show
wanna
up.
be nervous.
Yeah, it doesn't show up on your face, but like you try to manage it. Yeah.
It's like a workshop. Yeah, for elevation areas. So they have like.
You shut that from vacation?
Yeah, I went to Niagara.
Really?
Yeah, the first time in Niagara. Okay.
Jacksonville.
So you got really close, but we didn't go.
Oh, you went to Buffalo?
So you're in Saratoga.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went with a couple of friends.
Yeah.
So I just started on Saturday morning. I went to Hartford, Connecticut, and from there, that's my friend. So he has some more friends. So we three of us got together, rented a car, and we drove to Niagara.
Okay.
So we reached by Saturday evening actually. Started Saturday morning. So it's like 7 to 8 hours drive.
Yeah.
From here?
From Hartford.
Okay, so
Hartford.
Hartford.
Yeah, actually. I went to actually New York, and then from New York I took a train to Hartford. So it's a good travel. Yeah, and then Saturday evening I reached Niagara, and then we saw the night view of the falls and everything. We stayed for the night, and then in the morning we took the boat. So the boat takes us very close to the falls. So it's kind of like, it's called the Maid of Rest. The Maid of Rest, yeah. It's like a 20-minute ride or something, and it was very good. Very good experience. Yeah. A lot of people have enjoyed Yeah. I think it freezes in December. Like it's the water goes very cold and it freezes. Yeah. They give the raincoats. Like when you go aboard the raincoats so that you don't drench. They take a very close look. So the water sprinkles on you. You kind of get that. That was good. Yeah. I'm scared now. Like, we didn't see anything like that. I guess. I'm not sure. Yeah. That's right at the border of North Canada. I think Ontario is on that side. So it's right at the border. So yeah. Very close.
They kind of react on there.
Did you find it, huh? Dinner, yes.
It's pretty cool. They actually have soul food down there too. So you can stand yourself. Like yourself.
Oil out. I'm sorry. Every day. Always.
Yeah, wise and everything. Yes.
I was fun. Okay.
You've been here for a while, haven't you? Have you been told us?
Not really.
That's familiar. I was one for a little while, then I left for a while.
Yeah, probably 3 months.
Oh, really? Okay, so you weren't like last year or anything like
No,
that?
I
Okay.
haven't even done my ice breaker yet.
Huh?
I said I haven't even done my ice breaker.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Oh.
After today, I plan on officially. So
Right.
that's
It'll take you like several meetings,
Right.
you know.
How long have you been doing?
Well, I was coming as a guest, like maybe like 4 times.
Yeah, that was my.
So I don't know.
Right, yeah.
I don't think I did. No.
So my whole thing was, so I'm pretty afraid.
Are you really?
It's funny. So yeah, I was through Zoom. I was pretty upset about that, but at the same time.
I mean, it was
Yeah,
you did, right?
exactly. It was, I was upset about it, but then I was like, yeah, it's kind of like.
You just did it.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and with Zoom, you know, so many people trying to be content creators.
Yeah.
You can practice your video presence.
Tell me your name one more time.
Tiffany.
Tiffany?
Yeah, nice to meet you, Tate.
So when we're about to time the subject.
Got so quiet.
Anticipation.
I like his background, especially when he like drinks coffee. It's like he's drinking coffee in outer space. Like, whatever he's drinking.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, rules are rules.
There we go.
There you go, okay. Sweet. Well, hey, I am calling the meeting back into order.
Just right.
It's right.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, now I'm calling the meeting back into order, and now we will transition over to our table topic session, which is an impromptu questionnaire session, and that will be hosted by me. So, hello, guys. It is officially, since it's officially fall now, I decided to make my questions oriented towards fall. So, and also, no one's safe today because I'm going to call everyone out. So, you might as well just get it over with and just raise your hands when I ask if anyone wants to volunteer. So then you guys know, no one's safe. So who wants to be my first victim today?
Wow.
All right, Zach. All right, sweet. All right, first question for you. What's your favorite thing about fall?
Wow, that's pretty all encompassing. What's my favorite thing about fall? First of all, October 2nd is my birthday, so gotta love that. But I mean, fall is just, it's a time for beautiful change. I grew up in Southern Ohio, and I mean, there's a lot of beautiful trees around here, but I mean, like, you just drive through the hills of Southern Ohio, and it's just so beautiful. It's just like, actually, like, I had my high school, I grew up, and I went from the county school to the city school. And the county school that I was a part of, it was actually called Paint Valley because you would drive down Route 50 and it's just like beautiful on either sides of it. Changing the leaves, my birthday, and just, you know, it's like the weather cools down a little bit. I mean, these are all kind of generic answers. I mean, pumpkin spice latte, but anyways, yeah. So basically, yeah. I mean, I'm not really the big pumpkin spice latte guy, but anyways, you know, all the generic stuff. But yeah, most of all, it is my birthday in a couple days, and yeah, we're both Libras, Lee and I. So yeah, in summation, my birthday. Thank you.
That was an amazing response. I gotta agree. If your birthday is in fall, then fall's gotta be your best season. And let's see. And I agree with you about what you said about pumpkin spice lattes. Get them all the time. Now this fall, okay. Go to Starbucks. And also Trader Joe's has recently got all their pumpkin stuff too, so you guys should check it out. Definitely recommend it. It's just as good as a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks. All their items. So anyways, next, who wants to be my next victim? All right, I'm gonna pick Tammy. I'm sorry. All right. So your question is, where do you think Halloween originated from?
Good question. Where did Halloween originate from? Maybe from the Wiccan religion, because Wiccans are about nature, but many people mistaken them for witches. And so Halloween was supposedly a pagan holiday. And so that would be my best guess. My second guess would be somebody really liked candy, couldn't afford to buy it, decided to dress up and go from house to house at the pillowcase, and they found out that people would give them things for free. And so, hey, why not? And, because there are some people who don't want to give things away, they decided that, well, if you're not going to give me a treat, then they invented the whole trick thing. And, they were toilet papering people's houses and ringing their doorbell and running away and putting up silly spray and all kinds of things. So, yeah, Halloween developed into something that was originally maybe one idea, but it came into this whole other adventure for children, which they seem to enjoy quite a bit, and even adults too. So thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Back to you.
That was an awesome response, and I gotta agree, those were two good responses. So I didn't know where Halloween originated from too, so I decided to Google it. And it turns out Halloween originated from Ireland, surprisingly. And Halloween originates from a Celtic festival celebrating the New Year's on November 1st. And so the traditions were to light bonfires and wear costumes to ward off ghosts. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's where Halloween originated from. All right, let's see. I'm gonna pick David. I'm picking you. I'm sorry. All right, question for you is, do you think it's okay for teenagers like 13, 14-year-olds to go trick-or-treating? And what's the latest age a person can go trick-or-treating?
Okay. So do I believe that teenagers ages 13 or 14 should go trick-or-treating by themselves?
Yeah. Or should they just do it at all? You think it's they're too old, or you think it's a good age to go trick-or-treating?
I think at that age, it's a lot more goofing around. They'll probably like go around houses, like knocking people's houses and I don't know, like scaring them or kind of just playing around. But yeah, at a young age, you kind of realize, or when you're young, you kind of cherish the moments you have at trick-or-treating. You go to each houses and you get candy and you just enjoy the moment. But after a certain age, it kind of defeats the purpose and you just don't even care about candy anymore. You just want to hang around with your friends and just do stuff. And to wrap it up, I think the max cap should be around like age 15, 16. That's when there's like no point in going.
That was a great answer, David. I gotta agree with you that you think teenagers like 13, 14-year-olds going trick-or-treating and just goof off. Back when I was 13, 14, I only went trick-or-treating to just hang out with my friends and goof off too, and just go like ding dong ditching doors for no reason. It wasn't really about just like getting candy or just hanging out basically. But yeah, great answer. All right, I'm tired of these fall questions, so I'm just gonna, is it parley, the word? Parlay. Parlay these questions up a little. So let's see. I'm gonna pick you, Lee. if you could travel back to any time period in the world, where would you go?
Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Could travel back in time, where would I go? What time period?
Hey, Lee, can you move to the camera frame, please?
Okay, sorry. Thank you. I'm just kind of stumped, but growing up, I studied a lot of, I read a lot of books about history growing up here in Virginia. And of course, you study it, the founding fathers and the president, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and James Madison, and all these men. And some of them are from other states, but growing up here in Virginia, we mainly focused on the Virginians, and I read, a handful of books back at that time, and I was really interested in these, from kind of like my heroes. And even now, at times, people are always talking about the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, and all of this, and we've got to keep them all intact, and that's what built our country and our foundation, and the greatest country in the world. We have everything going on that all these other countries want. That's why all these people are coming here to gain freedom and liberty, and can't blame them. I mean, that we enjoy it. We enjoy our freedom and liberty. And I think just going back to that time period, I know over the years, going up to Richmond, the state capitol, going to the General Assembly building and sitting in the old chambers, it's like, this is where Thomas Jefferson sat, and Patrick Henry, and all these great heroes, Virginians, and you see their statues, and of course people want to take them down, and okay, or maybe not, whatever. I'm not here to get all controversial on that, but I just think it would be good to go back to that period and just kind of hang out and see how they argued and fought and worked it all out, like the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Interesting response. It's interesting to see that you want to go back to basically when America was founded and see how that process went, and Thomas Jefferson and all these old founding fathers. But if I had the choice, I probably wouldn't go back, because if I went all the way back there, I wouldn't have like the internet, Netflix, car. I'd like walk around all the time, just like chill outside, just to get killed by like famine or like diseases, or just like get shot in the neck by bow and arrow by like an Indian or something. And I don't want to deal with all that, so I live my comfortable food-filled life over here. But awesome answer. All right, let's go to an online person. So, Niv, would you like to participate?
Sure.
Awesome. All right, so your question is, lose your hearing or go blind?
Yeah, given a choice, I would lose my hearing and not go blind, because at least you can see people's emotions, like through facial recognition. Like you can see if they're sad, if they're happy, and then that can make you happy, and you can see different colors, like Paul is here. And you can also, but I mean, if you're blind, I think you can't. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine a world without seeing so things. So yeah, definitely, I can lose hearing over losing vision. Was I clear? Like, were you able to hear me?
You gotta keep on going for 10 more seconds. Oh, that's fine. It's all good. All right, sweet. I agree with you. Yeah, it's definitely like a hard choice between going blind or hearing. There's both like pros and cons of each side. Like one side, you can see everything, you can see like you said, like seeing everyone's emotions. But on the other side, you can like hear everything, hear music, hear like city, hear like whatever your mom's voice or like your family members, but it's definitely a hard choice. But you did a great job answering the question. So good job. Let's see. Go with Luke. All right. If you could speak any other language, what would it be?
I think table topics master. Speaking a second language. Well, obviously a very, very useful skill, and beyond just being a skill, I think it actually is sort of a brain forming activity to take on, really, if you think about it. It opens your minds to other ways of thoughts. Of course, language developed kind of independent of each other, but very interesting how languages sort of matched their own structure or even took different structures. So you could kind of, it really gives you an insight into how we think as people and even societies or cultures. To answer the question though, because I've been avoiding it apparently. Well, the second language in my household is actually Japanese. My wife is Japanese and my kids, having just returned from a year in Japan, everyone's speaking Japanese except me. I do understand a good bit of it, but I would definitely like to be fluent in it. So Japanese would definitely be something I definitely need and would like to learn more of. And after that, I would like to really get back into Spanish because I think I just really love the Spanish language. I think it sounds very musical and fluid, and I just like the culture behind it. And I also think it has a lot of utility itself, geographically, of course. So, tabletop manager, thank you very much for the question.
A great response. Definitely Japanese and Spanish are definitely useful languages, especially Spanish, because basically everyone in the Western Hemisphere below us in Southern America, Central America speaks Spanish. So it'd be nice to learn Spanish as a second language, or maybe third. All right, let's go over to AJ. Let's see, Iron Man versus Captain America, who wins?
Of course, you give me that question. So, in order to set the context of this, would this be after the fight during Civil War, or this be before that fight?
I didn't think that far. You can choose which period.
Because it does determine the outcome of the fight. Think about it from this perspective. Tony Stark, Iron Man, is known to be adaptable. Every time he fails, he builds a new Iron Man suit because he learned from his failure. So if this is before Civil War, of course Captain America is going to win. I mean, he's a super soldier. He's faster, stronger, better in every way than the clunky suits that Tony Stark has. If it's after the fight in Civil War, however, Iron Man has already experienced that loss and he's learned from it. And so he's improved his suits to a point that he could now counter even better than he did before the attacks of Captain America. The super soldier strength that he has will be nullified. The speed that he has is going to be nullified. Everything that Cap has will no longer be a factor in the fight against Iron Man because Iron Man literally adapts to every single fight, every single scenario. That's what happened in Avengers. I mean, after he lost to Thanos on Titan, what does he do? He builds a bunch more suits. He built 35 new suits to the point that his next suit actually put up a good fight against Thanos. So, yeah, it really depends on when the fight takes place to determine who would win that fight. Back to you.
Great response. I didn't realize there was so much into Iron Man, but yeah, I mean, definitely Iron Man would probably win after the Civil War battle because I remember, I think in like Avengers, like the last Avengers second movie, when they when Thor snaps his fingers and kills half the world population, they like invade his hut. And Iron Man's giant ass suit, like being down like Thanos. So yeah, he definitely upgrades. I didn't think about that, but great response. Let's see. All right, I'm gonna go over to David.
Yeah,
I mean, it
didn't work.
see, all right. Let's see. If you could go back in time and stop any major world-changing event, what would it be? Why? And what would be the outcome?
Go back in time and change any world-changing event. What would it be? Why? What would be the outcome? That's interesting. I don't think I'd want to go back and change any of the outcomes. Here's why. Because everything that happened, every major bad thing that happened, even the good things, any major event brought us to where we are today, right? And they all had significance. So if, let's say, for example, I wanted to go back and the time where Jesus was crucified and say that that's not going to happen, right? What would be the outcome of that? I don't know. That's a hard, I really don't. Like, what would be the outcome of going back and making sure that Jesus was not crucified? Well, then I guess we wouldn't be saved, right? If you believe that Jesus died on the cross and you know, and become saved and everything, I guess those people who believe that would not be saved. They would not have that option. So I guess, so I wouldn't. I just wouldn't. I guess that would have to be my answer. I would not go back and change any event because every significant event brought us to where we are today.
That was an amazing response, and I also think that's like the correct response, because if all these major world events didn't happen in the past, and if you like alternative world where we live in, we probably won't even be here. Our society would be completely different. So that was a great response. Let's see. So we got 4 more people. All right. Let's go with Jake. All right. Question is, you witness a man rob a bank, but instead of keeping the money for himself, he donates it to a local orphanage. You know this orphanage has been struggling for funds, and this money will allow the children to receive proper food, clothing, and medical care. If you report the crime, the money will be taken away from the orphanage and given back to the bank. What do you do?
So basically I have a choice to
Yeah,
report it or not.
report it. Yeah.
I wouldn't report it. Ain't no snitch. No, but it's also going to, I guess, a good cause, and I guess that's why the bank's got insurance in the first place. You know, I grew up, one of my best friends was, he was from like a really bad place, and he had a really good heart. And I feel like something like that, you know, might have helped him. I know this is a little, I'm thinking a little too deep on this maybe, but you know, it's also none of my business. I feel like, and if you report him, who knows what he might do too? You know, he might come after you. Yeah, I guess like David was saying, everything has an effect, you know. So if you report some guy you don't know and he figures out about it, then that might not be good for you. That's all I got.
There's some interesting points, definitely pros and cons to each side, but I gotta agree with you morally. I think I ain't no snitch, so I'm not gonna say anything. All right, and let's see. So Sandeep. Let's see. So, late one night, you are driving home in a bad rainstorm. A drunk reels out in front of your car, and you try to stop, but you hit him. Nobody sees you. The guy looks and smells as if he is homeless. You check to see how badly he is hurt and realize he is dead. You have never had a speeding ticket and are upright, professional, with a family, and a well-known and respected. You are well-known, respected, and in your community. Do you make a report anonymously, confess your crimes, or drive home and forget about it, knowing no one's going to pursue the death of the homeless drunk?
So I have to basically choose what to do, right?
Yeah, what to do. Like, would you report it? Would you do nothing, go home, and like it never happened?
So considering that you said I'm a well-known personality in the society, I should basically just run away from the incident. Like that's what I'll try to do, so that and it's also not going to be reported. Like no one is going to find me or chase me. But anyway, like deep inside my heart, I'll always be having that pain, like of having killed some innocent guy or something. That's going to be that till I die. But for the society and to live happily in front of my family and my relatives, I would just choose to walk away from the incident without reporting, just to safeguard my family and everyone. That's it. But I know, like deep inside, I have done something wrong. That's a crime. But that's what I try to do. Maybe is that 1 minute yet? Time one.
Yeah, about 15 seconds left.
Okay, but yeah, please don't think like I'm some kind of a very bad guy or something, but just for the sake of my family. That's it. That's what I choose. Yeah.
You made some interesting points. Don't feel guilty about your response, because I think some people would have said the same thing. And yeah, there's definitely like pros and cons on each side of the argument. So, but you did a great job of responding to that question. All right, so we got 2 more people. So Priscilla, I'm gonna ask you the same question. So you just killed a man, and the man's basically nobody. He has no friends, no family members or job. Basically, no one's aware of his existence. What do you do? Do you report that you just killed a man, or do you confess to your crimes, or do you run away, chop his body up?
That wasn't a simple question.
I'd report it just because, you know, it's also something I can talk about later. Somebody could learn from. You know what I'm saying? I could go to jail, could come out with some nice tats. You know what I'm saying? Be like, hey, I bit the pin. Look at this. You know, like it'll be. You know, I'm not saying it's cool that I killed somebody, but like, I could, you know, I could learn some things and teach people some things from it. So I could be like, you know, pay attention while you're driving, because I took his life. You know, I did the time for it instead of hiding it all the time, because that stuff like that. I mean, I guess you can hide it all your life, but it ain't worth it to me. So. That not enough.
Like 4 seconds.
Points once again pointed out. Yeah, there's definitely pros and cons to each side, but you owning up to your murder is pretty brave. All right, so the final question is, I'm sorry, what was your name again? Yes, Tiffany. Okay, so Tiffany, I have a question for you. This is going to be an awful question, but all right.
It's 1 minute, right?
Yeah, 1 minute.
Okay.
So you're a skilled doctor with 5 patients who need different organ transplants. There are currently no organs available to give them, and if they don't get it, their transport soon, they will all die. You have a 6th patient who is dying of an incurable disease. At the moment, you are giving him medicine to ease his pain and prolong his life. He is a compatible organ donor for your 5 other patients, but the medicine he is taking will keep him alive for just a day longer than they have left. If you were to stop giving him medicine, he would die before them in a very painful way, but you would be able to use his organ to save the 5 others. What do you do?
I'm so sorry to ask you to repeat the first part.
No, you're good. So you are a skilled doctor with 5 patients who all need different organ transplants. There are currently no organs available to give to them. And if they don't get their transplant soon, they will all die. You have a sixth patient who is dying of an incurable disease. At the moment, you are giving him medicine to ease his pain and prolong his life. He is a compatible organ donor for your 5 other patients, but the medicine he is taking will keep him alive just a day longer than they have left. If you were to stop giving him medicine, he would die before them in a very painful way. But you would then be able to use his organ to save the other 5. What do you do?
Although my heart would be to help the other 5, I don't think that I could justify killing one person to save the lives of others. I know that is a really tough question. It's really hard to answer that, but still and yet, I would have to take a life. And when you kind of balance taking a life and saving a life, you know, which one weighs on my conscience the most? I would say it would be a predicament, because I would realize that those that needed saving was within my reach to save them. But ultimately, I would have to take a life. And, you know, I would not be willing to take a life to do that. You know, I would really have to put it in God's hands, and, you know, I would be firm with my decision not to take a life.
I would say great response to a moral dilemma. Definitely, is it kill someone and 5 other live, or let this person
That's a hard
die?
one, gosh.
Yeah, it's definitely hard, but I think you did a great job of responding to such a difficult question. Good job. And good job to everyone else for being able to respond to these hard and some easy questions. Give a round of applause to yourself.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabletop. As you may have noticed, it's definitely a very active part of the meeting, a pretty fun part, and I'd like to also posit that you kept within theme. You just went for the Halloween part of it, a little more horror in there. Anyway, thank you very much. Some great topics, and put out some good speeches from that. So, as you may have noticed, having 1 minute to quickly answer and meeting that 1 minute time to answer a question that you had no idea was coming really kind of challenges our impromptu speech skills. So that's sort of the goal there. And as our president always says, when you get to the end and your mind's just blank, just keep swimming. Just come up with something else, switch topics, whatever you do. And I saw some of that tonight, and you all did a great job.
You also answer other people's questions.
Yeah, you can do that too. Okay, so I would like to call timer up for the timers report, and then we will vote afterwards.
There's a lot of them.
Thank you, timer.
Okay, so on table topics, I had Zach at 1 minute and 6 seconds. Tammy at 1 minute and 25 seconds. David number 1 at 1 minute and 8 seconds. Lee at 1 minute 47 seconds. Niv at 50 seconds. Luke at 1 minute and 20 seconds. AJ at 1 minute and 24 seconds. Mr. President David at 1 minute and 28 seconds. Me at 1 minute and 8 seconds. Sandeep at 1 minute and 1 second. Priscilla at 57 seconds. And Tiffany at 1 minute and 5 seconds.
Can we get the list of contestants, please? You're ready. So,
I didn't miss anyone, did I?
You did not.
so now at this time, we'll vote for our favorite table topic speech. All voting complete? Thank you very much. So next, we'll begin session 3 of our meeting tonight, and that will be the evaluations portion. So I would like to turn it over to our general evaluator. Look.
Hi. Thank you, Luke. Alrighty. So this is the most important part of the meeting because this is the part where we learn how we did. And to kick it off, we're going to start with the speech evaluations. Then we're going to have a special evaluator evaluate Sean Markle as our table topics master. And then I'm going to hit the role reports. But let's start with the speech evaluation, starting with Tammy evaluating Priscilla Hernandez. Tammy, you have a lectern.
Okay. So, and first of all, for our new people and guests, an icebreaker is, of course, your very first talk, and it lasts typically 4 to 6 minutes. And it's just so that we can get to know you. So it's probably one of the easiest talks to do. Priscilla, I have to tell you, you are a brave person to talk about a subject like suicide, because it's a very personal and intimate subject and it needs to be talked about. So kudos to you. You're obviously comfortable speaking about it and comfortable with your audience. If you were nervous, we sure couldn't tell. None of us could tell. You ended it with, a little hope can go a long way. That is really cool because it gives an encouragement and motivates other people. You know, hope is sometimes all someone might have. Your gestures were very good. They were appropriate. Your eye contact wasn't bad. As you learn more, you'll pick up little things like how to look directly at someone in your audience, like picking one specific person. You spoke loud enough for everyone to hear you. It was your first talk, so just being able to get up there and tell your story is your most important first step. As you get more talks, you're going to learn to use different pitches and tones in your vocal variety. You'll come out from behind the lectern and you'll use your space better. These are all things that we've had to learn and which you can build upon as well. So when talking about a subject like this, and this is to challenge yourself, we want to know what brought you to this point. You did a great job sharing with us how you got out of it. Glad you came through it, Priscilla, and in such a creative way by listening and saturating yourself with motivational videos. What a brilliant strategy. I would have never thought of that, but that was excellent. So keep speaking and keep opening up, and maybe someday someone will be listening to you. Motivate and inspire them. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tammy, for that illuminating evaluation of Priscilla's icebreaker. In fact, being that this was Priscilla's icebreaker, let's all give her a standing ovation. All right. So carrying on with our evaluations, let's go to Lee Walker, who will give us a comprehensive evaluation of David Marshall's speech. Lee.
David is working on his third speech in his path. And in his third speech, you can give the same speech or a new speech. And it's to improve on or work on suggestions your evaluator gave you in your second speech. So he chose to give the same speech, and I was here when he gave the second speech, or gave the speech. So the evaluation, it's the same kind of general elements as well. So I think he spoke clearly. I really didn't notice too much vocal variety, but he did use, I guess, like conversations or whatever with characters. So that's kind of where you would work the vocal variety, but it's good use. Further in my evaluation, I'll come back to the characters and stories. I think David did good eye contact. He always has good use of hand gestures, and I think he did real well tonight working through the stories and conversations with characters. And for this speech, he told me that he wanted to work on having less movement or just kind of rocking around or moving just involuntarily, I guess. And you usually want to try to have your movements to demonstrate or illustrate a point, something impactful. And I think he did that tonight. I didn't notice too much moving around. And that's something I need to work on too, is have a purposeful movement when you make an impact or a statement or a point. And so to continue, it was a good topic, useful and helpful to the audience. He appeared confident. I didn't notice any nervousness. It's an interesting topic. It was a good use of the stories, examples of being in our comfort zone, getting out of our comfort zone, and then you've got good examples for good getting into a good comfort zone or a bad comfort zone if you're stuck, but it's a bad place and you're using bad examples or not safe examples to try to get out. That's also not a good way to get out of comfort zone. So again, just for most of our speeches and projects, we want to tell about stories and to illustrate examples. I think David did a good job with that. He talked about the horse story, a cat. Then he talked about the prisoner having two choices, and then the king with the eagles. So again, he used really great examples, stories, and that's what we try to do to illustrate our points and get our points across to our audience. Mr. General Evaluator.
Thank you, Lee. Alrighty, I appreciate the speech evaluators. Now we're going to examine Sean Markle's role as Table Topics Master with his active listening project to be evaluated by Zach Phillips. Please tell us how he did with the active listening.
All right, thank you so much, Philip. First of all, great job with everything you did with table topics. This is a really weird thing to evaluate, but I'm going to do my best. And I may have done this one at a time, but I'm glad that you looked at the people, as, they were giving their answers. It was really good. But having said that, like, I don't know, maybe it's more eye contact. It's kind of weird because you'll be reading the question. So eye contact in terms of, like actually looking at people, really good job. You had a nice tone. Well, it was a clear tone, but I feel like you could have used a little bit more, I guess, vocal variety is what it would be, to sort of like spice up, some of your questions, and this also goes with engagement, which is one of the things that I think this really only deals with this speech. But yeah, like, I mean, like just a little more pep in your voice. I mean, I don't know, how to do that too much myself, but having said that, just maybe a little bit more enthusiasm. But good job. The big thing is good job in, when they finished their question, you gave a great, like response that directly related to, what the answers that they would give. So yeah, good job on that. You did put your hands in your pockets sometimes. So yeah, I mean, that'd be one thing to, sort of have a little bit more engagement. There we go. Thank you. Oh, another thing is you might want to wait until they get up to, the camera area before you start giving the question. Let's see here, related to everything. So yeah, eye contact, clarity was good, but you could use more vocal variety. Eye contact was good. Comfort level, I mean, it's your first time doing this sort of thing. So having said that, you did great comfort level. There's a lot of very philosophical questions that you had, which is interesting and nice. And one other thing, sorry, I'm just using my notes. I like that you said good response, and I really felt like you meant it, no matter what sort of response they gave. One thing, and I'm not certain if it's in the module or not, and like me as the Vice President of Education, I should have told you this, do not call on the speakers unless, like it's a very small meeting. And probably also the timer and also the Toastmaster of the evening. Having said that, just call on, people who are not, speakers first, and then, wheel your way down to, other stuff. But, all in all, great job. And I guess to challenge yourself, just, I guess, little things like wait until the speaker comes up and things like that. Great job. Look forward to seeing you do table topics again.
Thank you for that special evaluation, Zach. Alrighty, before we get into the role reports, let's get a timers report for our evaluators. Jake?
Thanks, AJ. I had Tammy at 2 minutes and 41 seconds. I want to apologize to Lee because I kind of messed up your cards a little bit there, but you did great. You had 2 minutes and 58 seconds. And Zach, I had at 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Jake. We're going to go ahead and do our votes now for best evaluator. Launching the poll now so you can see your options.
One still need a paper?
Yep.
Anybody need one?
Is there like a criteria so we know what people are looking for?
To evaluate on the voting?
Just in talking in general, how do we know what how do we know how we evaluate?
So the best way to answer that is which evaluation provided the most effective form of feedback for the speakers that gave their speeches. That's kind of the criteria for that. Or you can just vote for your favorite evaluation. That's kind of either or.
Counting of and there was like a couple of papers we had to kind of look and understand.
That'll actually be the next step too. It's a little bit separate from the evaluations. So that'd be our wordmaster and I'm sorry, grammarian and accountant.
All right. Are all the votes in?
They appear so.
All right. So let's go into our role reports, and then I will follow that up with my general evaluation of the overall meeting event. Sorry. Let's start with Sandeep. Let's hear the grammarian odd counter report.
Good evening again. So let's start with the first speaker, Priscilla. She used 4 R's, 1 ums, and 9 ands. Then David, I just noticed like a couple of ants. Then for the table topics and with the evaluation, Zach, you used 3 ums, 2 buts, 1 and 8 unos. Tammy, you used 2 so's and 1 and. David, you just used like a couple of ands. Niv, I could notice 1 and 1 That's it. Luke, I didn't notice anything. Andrew, I didn't notice anything. Jake, I noticed like a couple of r's, 1 and 2 ands. Then Tiffany, I noticed a couple of ums and then 1 and you used 3 times. So that's all I have for the R counter report. As for the grammarian, I don't have anything. I think everyone did good on grammar. So that would be my report. Back to you, General Evaluator.
All right, thank you, Sandeep. I should point out that I myself actually had 3 ums. I even caught myself. Pay more closer attention next time. All righty. David, let's hear the word master and listen up report.
So, I heard Sean use sort of parlay, but I'll give you credit for that. Sean used parlay, and I can hear you one on. Oh, interesting. Okay, and for listen up, is everyone unmuted? Maybe you want to unmute so you can participate also.
You did count me for using parlay, right?
Yes, I did. Yes, and
Okay.
he was the first one to use it. And if you want to participate and listen up, mute yourself. There you go. All right. So, what is Luke's favorite holiday? Everyone here, you want to unmute yourself? Luke's favorite holiday.
Thanksgiving.
What you got?
Halloween.
Halloween. Ah. Who are some of the people Priscilla listened to on YouTube?
Sadhguru.
Kobe Bryant.
Go Ira.
Mike Todd. One more. Steven Furtick. Good. Awesome. What is Niv's profession?
Civil engineer.
Civil engineer. All right. Correct. All right. What is Zach not a fan of?
Pumpkin spice.
There you go.
Pumpkin spice, yeah.
Very basic.
I'm
sorry if I'm personally attacking everyone.
I'm not a big.
It's basic.
I'm not a big fan, but I can tolerate it once in a while. It's one of those.
Yeah, me too.
Yes, I feel like having a pumpkin spice.
It's really sweet, but if you try to pumpkin cream cold brew,
Yeah.
Really?
yeah, it's not as sweet. It's got like.
Well, I did see pumpkin spice cheese last week.
Okay, so.
Maybe cream cheese, but that might be a treat on the baby.
In what state did Zach grow up?
Ohio.
Oh. There's a show that was based out of Ohio. What show was that? Sitcom.
Family Ties.
Family
Set
Ties.
in Columbus, Ohio.
There's something else. It was in the. It was in the theme song in the beginning. It was in the theme song in the beginning. Ohio.
Yeah.
What was that?
Drew Carey show.
Was it? Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember the short deal. Yeah. Okay. What age did most people die, and at what age do they get buried?
25, 75.
Okay.
What age does Luke want? What language does Luke want to get back into?
Spanish.
Spanish.
The trick question.
And you ruined my next question. What language does his family speak? You don't get to answer. You can mute yourself. What was the determining factor for Andrew's table topic question? Before or after Civil War? Great. Yep. And what is Jake not? What is Jake
A
not?
snitch.
Back to you. You know about
All right, thank you, David. I'm glad you're keeping us on our toes with those questions. Thank you, Jake, for being our timer this evening. All right, well, here's the fun part. I get to give my evaluation of the meeting. So, to begin with, we started on time, which is always a positive. Our Toastmaster made sure that the roles are filled, and he even sent out communications throughout the week to prepare us for the meeting. Couple of things that I want to take notes on. We're still new to this whole hybrid environment / being in person. And one of the things that's difficult to remember is to not leave the lectern unattended. So when you hand off the lectern, you wait for the person to come up to you, you bump fists or shake hands, whatever, and then you step away from the lectern. Don't just walk away. It's going to take some practice to get into. Believe it or not, we were struggling with this before COVID. So this is not a new struggle, and I completely understand. And we're just getting the practice of handing off the lectern properly. Obviously, the exception is handing off to a virtual person because I'm not there to bump fists with you. So, yeah. One point of clarification with the evaluation and feedback project. There are actually 3 parts to the evaluation and feedback. There are the 2 speeches, and then it's followed up by an actual evaluation. See, the purpose of the evaluation and feedback is to teach you how to accept feedback and use it to improve your speeches, but also to turn around and give it to others. So there's your first speech where you give a speech and then you get evaluation. You use that evaluation to do the same or a different speech to make improvements to the way you deliver your speech. And then you use the experience of those 2 evaluations to try to evaluate somebody else. And then that marks the completion of the evaluation and feedback project. So I just wanted to share that with you so that you understand what it is you're getting into when you do the second project in your pathway. As far as evaluations go, we had 3 very different evaluation styles. We had Tammy, who focused mostly on the delivery. We had Lee, who kind of went off of the scorecard on the back, which is completely understandable. And then we had Zach, who wasn't really sure how to evaluate the active listening project, which I totally get. It's not very common to evaluate table topics. The ticket is to read the actual project description and then offer the evaluation based on the project description. Because the purpose of the evaluation is to identify what the objectives are and identify how well the speaker fulfilled those objectives. And we should always deliver the evaluation in the format of what you did well, what you may need to work on, and then just for kicks, we like to throw in a challenge for something for them to try on for their next presentation or next speech to kind of keep things interesting. Once we get that formula down, all of our evaluations will be fantastic because they're not just for the speaker, but everybody will take something away from the evaluation because there's something in it for all of us, whether we are the one giving the speech or if we're the one that's nervous about how we're going to give our first speech or our next speech. And last but not least, table topics. We were all over the place with table topics, and it is Fantastic. It's good to have questions. It's good to include everybody. I would say for our new people, it's completely understandable that you didn't get that 1 minute. That's your first time, but we appreciate you for even stepping up and trying, because stepping up and trying is the first step in anything. I can tell you from personal experience, my very first time called up to Table Topics, I stood up there for 34 seconds and I did not finish the question. I was terrified. I didn't know what to say. I freaked out and I ran off the lectern as quickly as I could. But here I am today, able to give a complete answer. And it took a long time for me to get there. You know, practice, 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 practice. And as long as we all keep it up, we'll all do fantastic with our table topics and growing as speakers as we move forward. That concludes my journal evaluation. I look forward to evaluating further meetings. And I will now turn the meeting back over to our Toastmaster of the day, Luke Dobbs.
Thank you, General Evaluator. That was an excellent evaluation of the meeting. Sometimes it cuts a little deep, but we all need it and we learn from it. And we definitely gained from your experience. So thank you again. With that, I really appreciate tonight's meeting. It was my pleasure as the first time Toastmaster evening, and I enjoyed it. So with that being said, I will turn it over to our president for closing remarks.
All right, great job. Great job, everyone. I had a great time. Like I say every time, I'm so happy to be back into meeting in person. Niv, I hope to see you in person, and I'm glad that you jumped on, even though you know you couldn't make it and you jumped on. That's awesome. So I appreciate having you. I guess I should be looking that way. Is that awkward?
No, actually, I'm looking at you. So, but I don't know.
I mean, you're looking at the side of my face, and I'm looking at that's gotta be awkward. So I look at the camera and say, "Hey, man." That's one of the things we got to get into is this hybrid situation. We have some things that we have to adapt to. Just like Andrew said, when we're in person, we don't leave the lecture until we turn it over. But if the lecture is virtual, that's kind of odd. So what do you do? Stay here until someone speaks? So that's one of the things that we have to get through. And another thing that we have to get through as part of one of my announcements is we do have to get back into the in-person etiquette. That's one of the things this lectern. I don't think we clapped as much as we should have. I'm just as wrong. Because it's been a year and a half. I'm like, is this clap now? So basically, I guess the rule of thumb, and Andrew can correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess the rule of thumb is we're going to clap anytime anyone gets up out of their seat and comes to the lectern. So I guess that's right.
That's accurate. That is 100% accurate.
So,
Anytime something happens, we just clap.
And I'm looking at you. You got some jokesters here. Who's talking about joking during trick or treat? I think it was David. Yes, you did. You said. Didn't you get the question about trick or treat? And you think that who had that question? Yeah, the teenagers. I would think it would be mostly pranks or something like that. Was that you? I got that question. Yeah. So no pranks. Don't glue anyone to the chair here so that we don't have to clap. I'm watching you. Put your hands together. Put your hands together. I'm tired of this clapping. So I want to apologize to Tiffany in the beginning when I was introducing our guest. And Tiffany, you're really not a guest, but you've been. It's been a while, so I want to introduce Tiffany. Tiffany came back. We met at our spin class or cycle class today. And I was like, she looks familiar. And she was like, oh, you mean in person? I'm going to be there. And she is. So I want to introduce Tiffany. Would you like to stand and kind of introduce it, tell us about
Sure,
yourself?
a little time, I'm gonna spend a class, I'll stay seated, but my name is Tiffany, I'm from the Virginia Beach area. I work as a hospice chaplain for a healthcare company. And I have no kids, I'm figuring out life, and I'm just growing in public speaking and hope to use a little bit of this to kind of become a content creator for some things. So, yeah.
Okay. Were you a member? Or is she a member?
No, I don't think I was an official.
You never, you were not an official member. Okay. All right, awesome.
Yeah,
And
Tiffany Dunbar?
No.
no,
No, okay. Yeah, because Tiffany Dunbar did become a member, not, okay.
no, that's the reason I couldn't remember your last name. That's why. Okay, so let's put up next week's agenda. Andrew, would you like to put that up? And I already know what I want to do next week. I'm going to do my research and presenting. So you can put me as speaker as research and presenting. I think I need to put like a small camera there because it's just like a small monitor somewhere.
Oh, like a monitor.
Yeah, I don't know because it's just they're virtual. And I don't see them there, so it's just I'm always doing this. What do you guys think? What? That kind of awkward?
We're looking at the.
Yeah, you have the guy, the virtual.
I guess we always put the lectern over there.
Well, then you got.
I do agree it's a little bit awkward. I've been trying to think of ways to handle that because the way we were doing it at people's houses was we would set the camera on top of the TV so that you would look at the TV, you'd be looking at the camera, you would see everybody. So yeah, I got some things to figure out there. Oh crap, hold on.
Suppose we could do that. Yeah, that would be.
I mean,
Hey, I'm
you
open
can
for.
somehow utilize that computer screen.
Well, then I'll just be turned this way.
I know, but
All right, so here's our agenda for next week. I'm going to do my research and presenting next week. You can put me down for that.
All right. We already got two speakers. Jake Bondi and David Dunn have signed up.
Both icebreakers too.
Yep.
Two more weeks.
I was actually gonna ask that same thing.
Oh, boy. Why is that? You're not ready?
I gotta work up the courage for it. I'm not ready to go yet.
Oh, we can work with one of you. Let's do one of y'all next week, and we can work with you. We got Zach and myself. We could meet up an hour or something. Or we'll be on that.
All right. So both of them want to reschedule?
Oh, David's busy. He's got a legitimate excuse. Oh. I'm just joking, Jake. No, but seriously, if you want to, I'll sit down and work with you on that if you want to. If you just don't, if you want more time, we can switch it.
I would like at least another week.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just give
All right. So Jake is going to stay on?
Jake's gonna go, they're both gonna go 2 weeks. And you can go,
Okay.
next week for research and presenting.
All right. Anyone else want to give a speech?
I'll give a speech. Yeah,
Who's that?
Zach Phillips wants to give a speech.
Zach Phillips wants to give a speech. All right. Tammy has already taken on our topics master. I think I'll take timer. Got a Toastmaster? Any volunteers for Toastmaster?
Okay, well, I'm doing.
Don't all speak at once. Any volunteers? Oh, Tammy just turned off her camera. She really doesn't want it.
Oh, wow.
Don't worry, you're safe. You're the topics master.
I like when Tammy does topics master. She does some.
Yeah, she's definitely inventive.
Have you done Toastmaster?
Yes.
Yeah, you have?
Last week.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I
You
was
were
also-
virtual. Yeah, you were virtual. You were virtual Toastmaster. That's the reason why I have this problem with my neck today. 'Cause I kept- Let's go.
I'll do word master.
Who was that?
Luke?
Sean Markle? Luke,
Or is it already on?
Wordmaster, listen up.
Should I be Toastmaster of the evening then?
All right.
Is that Sean?
Yeah.
Moving right on up.
Awesome.
All right. So anybody want to be general evaluator?
Let's leave that open for now.
Okay. Well, we got a Toastmaster, we got Wordmaster, timer, topics master, we got speakers. We do not have any evaluators yet. Any
Oh.
evaluators?
What helper roles do we have?
I need to do an evaluation for my project. So I
You
guess
do?
Who was that?
Luke needs to do an evaluation.
Luke needs to do an evaluation?
Yes.
Part 3 of.
So then that means we need another special evaluator. I'll do a special.
Well, I'll do Luke's evaluation. Because I was the one that evaluated him on his other projects.
What helper roles do we have?
Grammarian odd counter. I took timer already.
Invocations.
So would you?
Oh yeah, I still need an invocator.
All right, Grammarian Arcana, would you like to do that in person? Grammarian Arcana?
Who said that?
Priscilla.
Priscilla. Oh wait, that was grammarian odd counter. Sorry.
I think Priscilla should do the invocation. You got all that stuff you've been listening to. You give us the good word.
She could actually do both.
To Stephen Furtick. He said. No, that's a good stuff. I actually do that myself. I listen to that all the time. I listen to a lot of other stuff too. A lot of, I don't know if it would be philosophical. I listen to a lot of Dr. Joe Dispenza stuff.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, all the time.
Invocation. So you want the invocation? Do the invocation?
So do you know what that is? So invocation is basically when we open the sergeant arms will open the meeting and the event and call up the indicator. Basically, you kind of set the tone. You give us that. You kind of like the cheerleader.
Kind of quote of the day, joke of the day, inspirational thought.
So you pump us up for the event. Like, hey, what's up?
Luke, did you give an invocation? Yes.
Yeah, he was our cheerleader today.
There we go. Yeah.
I had to sum it up somehow. I mean, that's the best way I could. Did I do a good job? I don't know.
Yeah, that's good. That's fantastic.
I think we got a good event for next week.
Yep, just need a couple of evaluators or an evaluator and a general evaluator, and we're good.
All right.
All right. I'll go ahead and save this. All right.
Thanks everyone for participating, and you all definitely have the extra time. If you need any help, you can reach out. Like I said, I'll sit with you. I'm at basically. That's when I do my reading and my journaling and drink a lot of coffee and stuff. So it's just.
It's a guilty place.
Yeah, that's a good place, right? So now let's finish this up and let's get to the awards. Best speaker.
We're not doing any sort of speech contest.
What's that?
We're not doing any sort of speech contest. Right, like normally we start talking about speech contests.
Yeah, we got.
Oh, okay.
You got something about that. So best speaker. Based on votes, best speaker is Priscilla. We get ribbons.
Oh, wow. Put this in my book. Bookmark.
That's a bookmark.
Yeah, that's nice.
Great job. And our table topics is Andrew. Andrew, you did stuff virtually, so here you go.
I'll add it to my collection.
That is a great bookmark. That's a good idea. We actually have we made bookmarks. Literally, we made where are they at?
They should have been among the stuff that Robbie gave you.
Might be in there. We made bookmarks. If you ever saw me online, and we're up, it's up. As a matter of fact, never mind. No more stories. And best evaluator is and Tammy.
Yeah.
Tammy gets the. And we'll see. All right, so that's all I got. It's 9 o'clock, so we're gonna wrap this up. And so usually after every event, we go hang out at Wing King. Just to be social and just kind of hang out and whatever. We're going to change that up a little bit. So this week we're going to go down the street to Topgolf because our friend Toastmaster Zach. The other Zach. No more stories, okay? So, all right. So if anyone would like to join us, let's run right down the street. Come on, parking lot, make a right. Topgolf is right there, and we'll hang out for a little bit. And
This is night.
yeah,
Oh.